Konnichiwa, Sekosina Hito.
Hey!
It is Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Japanese metal band Babymetal. The band's new album, Metal Fourth, will be released on August 8th via Capitol Records. Babymetal returns with Metal Fourth, the long-awaited fourth original album, and the group's first original album since their third release, Metal Galaxy, in 2019, and follows their 2023 concept album, The Other One. Titled Metal Fourth, meaning Beyond Metal, the album features collaborations with Poppy, Spiritbox, Tom Morello, Bloodywood, Polyphia, and Slaughter to Prevail, artists that Babymetal has connected with over the years while touring the globe. Packed with collaborations from artists leading the next generation of the metal scene, the album sets the stage for Babymetal's dynamic world tour. The latest evolution of metal, as presented by Babymetal today, is set to go beyond metal and rewrite musical history. In addition, it was officially announced that Babymetal World LLC has been established in the United States as a base for Babymetal's expanding global activities. Furthermore, Babymetal has signed a global deal with Capitol Records, a Hollywood-based label with a long history and home to renowned artists, including iconic bands like the Beatles. The album was produced by Kei Kobayashi, also known as Kobametal. He is the producer and manager of Babymetal, also the CEO of Babymetal World LLC.
Okay. And you call this band manufactured? How fucking dare you, Dave? In your face!
I don't believe it. Okay, so like, firstly, just going back into that press release for a second, interesting that they are classing this as the fourth album and not the fifth album.
Well, can I just stress something here? Quentin Tarantino does the same thing in his movies. So, like, if you look at Quentin Tarantino's filmography, he did direct an entire segment of 4 Rooms, right. Which is an anthology, like an entire film within that film. And he's like, no, I never did that. And you're like, no, you did, Quentin Tarantino. You very much did that. So technically, you're retired now. Yeah. He's like, no, 10 movies. And you're like, no, you're technically done.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's a bit of that here, because, like, obviously they're saying concept albums don't count as an album, apparently. But
I wish other bands did that, because there's some concept albums I've listened to where I'm like, I really wish this wasn't part of your discography.
But also, I'm thinking, like, did they just want to call this Metal Fourth and make it the fourth album, as a play on words type thing? I don't know.
I hadn't even thought of that, so
I'm not sure. I think the concept album also only had 2 of the members on it.
This is true, yeah. So
whereas this is back to like a 3-piece, so maybe
back
that
to the 3
could be something to do with it. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I suppose it's worth saying that
it is worth saying, Dave. Let's go to the backwards history machine.
We have been on fairly different paths in terms of Babymetal.
Interesting.
One of us definitely a bigger fan than the other.
That person may have seen them live.
One has seen them live, correct, yeah. But will Metal Fourth bring us together in harmony and agreeance, Duncan? That is the question. Duncan's not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. Do you want to go first? Will I go first? What do you want to?
I'm
how you want to do this?
So curious as to where you're going to land with this.
Okay.
Mostly because I have tried. I have better. Like, people will not know. I have tried. I've moved mountains to try and get this sexy bald bastard on the other end of this fucking young virile cunt to accept the new Lord and Saviour Babymetal into his heart. They just won't do it. And your excuses, I'll be honest with you, are relatively weak. Like, I can think of examples of everything that you've thrown up as a reason not to listen to Babymetal. I can think of at least one band, and all the different, not collectively, at least one band that you are more forgiving to on each of those arguments. And it's worth saying as well, this is a Babymetal album, but this is a Babymetal album where there's more collaborations
let's just get into this. Hold on a minute. Just hold the bus on that. Hold. Okay, so I'll admit I've always been kind of dismissive about Babymetal.
Why?
That is true. I've just never gotten fully on board the train.
Why,
So-
Dave? The people out there are screaming at their device. To be fair, there's a lot of people that vehemently think that this band is the death of metal.
I've listened to the album, so like it's not like I'm going into this with no background.
You've listened to everything they put out.
Yeah,
You have listened to.
I'm not an aficionado by any means, or
You're not part of Babymetal LLC, no.
No,
All right.
no, I'm not. But I've always had some issues with the band, and not just from the whole like manufacturing of it, which is clearly a thing.
Well, that is. There's literally that Babymetal was formed as a musical group by a corporation, by this manager, and put out there. Cynically, I would argue that Linkin Park were manufactured the same way in that Chester Bennington was not found; he was placed by the record label.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't like Linkin Park, so that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That whole thing doesn't sit well with me anyway. But even past that, musically, I haven't always gelled with it either. It's intrinsically Japanese, so they throw
everything,
a lot into the blender, Duncan, for sure. Sometimes it works, and other times it feels for me a bit muddled. Sometimes it's a bit kind of generic, and sometimes I feel like it's kind of like style over substance. Vocally as well, like sometimes I can handle it. There's certain tracks I'm like, yes, like I like Give Me Chocolate, great track, love that,
great track.
And then other times I'm a bit like, I'm like maybe it sounds a bit too like childlike and cutesy, and it kind of starts
Kawaii.
to drive me up the wall. I'm just lighting up. That kind of deal with that. The other thing that I've had issues with in the past is the production of their albums.
Yeah.
I know they've
I
stuck
would say
back.
this is probably your biggest issue.
It is.
It's the one you always come back to again and again is the production.
Yeah. And I know they've got their guy, Kobayashi or Kobametal or whatever his name is the producer, the manager, the CEO of everything. Yeah. But I feel like production-wise, it's just very hit and miss, but more miss than hit for me. I feel like a lot of their albums are very thin. Drum samples I do not like. So, and I feel like there's been albums where I think, see if they just maybe handled that or gave the reins to someone else for that album, it could have been completely different.
I think you're forgetting that's when Kobayashi loses out on money.
Yeah.
So keeps it on House Dave. It all goes to him.
Manufactured. Anyway, however, with all that baggage,
with 8 minutes of complaint out the way,
what I will say is about Metal Fourth. The singles that I'd heard going into this, it was probably the most interested I'd been to check out a Babymetal album. We reacted to Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat when it came out. And like, I will admit, that is an absolute stone cold banger. Like one of my favourite singles of the year. Just the right amount of fun, mashed together with big grooves, catchy as fuck melodies, and a good production as well. So like from what I'd heard of, I was hopeful going in. Hopeful. Optimistic even, Duncan.
Optimistic. There's a word. Optimistic Dave is what they're calling him on the streets.
Right. That's changed from last week.
There's Mr. Optimism. Look at him walk about there all optimistic and stuff.
No longer fun and violence. What I will say is, although I still have some issues here, Duncan, Metal Fourth is probably the most enjoyable collection of tracks Babymetal have put out so far.
Interesting.
And I'll come back to the production, but it's the best production they've had as well. So, yeah, like what I would say is, like, first and foremost, these tracks are stacked with big hooks, like huge. Like nearly every song has a chorus that you're like, will get stuck in your head, and like you'll be humming along or singing to it like by the end of it easily. And like Babymetal have always been pretty good at like writing a hook, or whoever writes the hooks, I don't know. They've always been good at it.
They write the hooks.
Okay,
Just because they're manufactured doesn't mean that someone writes stuff for them.
Okay,
right?
just if you say so. But they've also, as I mentioned, they've added in like some of the biggest
music, lyrics, production. Kobayashi Inc.
He's cashing checks, that guy.
It's like everything is me. I am Sue Metal. Fucking.
They've also added some of the biggest metal artists of this time period to this album to add even more
Clout.
epicosity, Duncan.
Oh, epic
these
fucking
tracks.
velocity.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
I mean, like huge, like Poppy and Electric Callboy and Slaughter to Prevail and Bloodywood, like some of the biggest bands kicking about right now. And like Spirit Box and Polyphia as well. And they all bring like their personality and biggest attributes to these tracks in a huge way. And you can instantly tell without even looking at the track list and who it is that's guesting on each track. And like Babymetal are they're a very eclectic band. So it never feels like they are, like the style they adopt on each track goes too far out of the wheelhouse. Whether it's more deathcore on like song 3 with Slaughter to Prevail, or more genty and progressive on like Sunset Kiss with Polyphia, or My Queen with Spirit Box. And more often than not, Babymetal take the lead on each chorus. Occasionally the guests might join them for a bit, but for the most part, they make sure that the Babymetal kind of character is there in the more prominent parts of each track. And then you also have 3 tracks which have no guests. It's all Babymetal. One is almost mid-album or mid-release separation track. It's only like 2.5 minutes, so it's kind of like a kind of bridging the gap kind of type track. But then tracks 8 and 10 are where they really lean into that kind of Babymetal sound that we're used to. Like Algorithm is energetic, it's filled with like a ton of quick runs. It's got that kind of power metal type kind of grandeur to it, like multi-layered quirky vocal melodies and a ton of electronics and synths going on in the background. It feels quite classic Babymetal. And White Flame, the album closer, follows a similar formula. It's another kind of like Dragonforce meets like Dream Theater wave of rapid riffs and drums and like all the usual stuff, but they smartly place Metal, track 9, between those 2 tracks to stop them feeling kind of too similar together. And Metal features Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine, and I quite enjoyed that. It's kind of got a bit of a kind of funky kind of strut to it, that track, which is not something that I've predominantly heard Babymetal really get into before. It's also got a little bit of a kind of Asian kind of flavour to it with there's an instrument they have on it, is the shamisen. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but it's like, I think it's that 3-stringed Japanese kind of guitar looking thing, kind of folky kind of sound to it, but it actually worked pretty well on that track as well. So like as a collection of songs, I think like, and you'll heard a lot of the singles already, they're catchy. Like there's plenty of different styles to get your teeth into, a very wide variety of vocal diversity spread across the album, and the musicianship is very good. It's not anything drastically unique. The band they have around them can clearly play, but I think with Babymetal, the spotlight always has to be on the vocalists. Like if the music was overshadowing the main members, then it would kind of defeat the purpose of this. So
that's why seeing them live is important, because when they play live, they go off stage and the band get like an opportunity to strut their stuff, and that's where you get a really good understanding that the manufactured background band are like all fucking incredible music, like really good musicians. So that's the good stuff. Where my slight issue comes in, here comes the butt. Back it up, Dave. Back it up.
You'll notice so far I haven't referred to this release as an album.
Interesting.
Although like the length would qualify it to be an album, but to me it does not sound like an album. This is a collection of songs. This is a collection of singles almost, you might say, and for me it very much plays out like that. Although the Babymetal vocal character is the same on these tracks, it's the connective tissue. That's the only thing that really ties them for me. On this, like I'd say about 70% of this the guests sound like the main artist. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat sounds like Electric Callboy with Babymetal. Song 3 sounds like Slaughter to Prevail with Babymetal. Con sounds like Bloodywood with Babymetal, which as a Babymetal album doesn't really make sense to me thematically. I think there's too many guests for a start. I think it strips the cohesive flow it should have. Like, I think, and having guests is fine. Like, that's absolutely fine. But I think for me, there needed to be more Babymetal tracks on this. And I know you're thinking, Dave's asking for more Babymetal.
I mean, at this point, I don't even know who you are. I'll be like...
But I think it would have tied this album together much more smoothly than it does. Also, like, you didn't class the last concept album as an album, but this is an official Babymetal album. Mm-hmm. I hate to tell you this, but this sounds even less like an album than the concept album. So as an album, it didn't really come together for me like an album should. I think it lacks flow and it lacks cohesion.
Once you're going to take pot shots of this band,
it sounds like
semantically dismantling their argument that the previous album isn't canon is just insane, Dave.
It sounds like
the hatred pouring out of you right now.
It sounds like 10 individual tracks that have been put together as a release, and I get it. Like, the collabs are huge. Like, they're some of the biggest artists here in metal right now, so they will garner eyes and ears for sure. But in comparison to other albums that I've heard this year, it's like apples and oranges. Again, I mentioned that earlier in another review.
Oranges, like, this is Dave's phrase that pays.
It really is. Yeah, and I'm not saying like every album has to be interwoven and like threaded together thematically, because many like modern day, or not even modern day, but many pop albums are made and built like this as well, where it's like a collection of singles. But for me as an album listener, it didn't really do it for me. I'm probably more likely to come back to certain tracks on this. But I wouldn't listen to it front to back, if that makes sense. There's definitely a handful I'd pull off of this and put into a playlist that I would really like and really enjoy. It's well played. Vocally, they always sound very unified and tight. The harmonies are good. The production, I think this is the best production they've had. It's the fullest sound they've had. It doesn't sound thin or anything like that in any way. It still sounds a little bit cookie cutter for me at times, but it's definitely better than what they've had in the past. I just think this might have been better as singles, or rather than an album, or even maybe a couple of like EPs possibly, rather than a full length. Not sure how this works either live. Like, if you're touring this album, how do you do this? Is it backing tracks or like?
Pretty much, yeah. I think in the case of what they're doing right now, well, they're touring with Poppy, so
yeah,
that track's taken care of. I don't know how many of these songs are actually going to play.
If that's the case,
live,
if it's backing tracks, get the fuck. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
not for me.
I get the feeling. It'll be mostly backing tracks, but then I would say Electric Callboy do this song, Rata Tata. They do that live and they play with a backing track. So
yeah. That's my thoughts.
Not that I want you to hate Electric Callboy, Dave, because I know you like them. But,
but that's one song.
I'm just saying,
that's one song. This is an album. Like, what? How 10 tracks?
They're not going to tour the entire album. They're going to pick a few songs from the album, and we've got another 3 albums, and a concept album.
Yeah, but if the singles you've released are like some of your biggest streamed songs, then how are you not going to play them live?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they'll play an hour and a half. I think they'll play maybe 2-3 songs off this tops, and. Like, I think you underestimate the pull of those previous albums, even though you weren't necessarily in on them.
Yeah.
They have, like, each of their songs have, like, a place in their lives. Like, once you see it, you kind of get it. Like, everything has a theme, it all works together, and then as a result... Like, they played a couple of songs live when I saw them, which I think are almost B-sides on other albums, but having seen them live with the video work and the stage presentation, I was like, oh yeah, I understand why you picked this. It totally fucking works. But to me, on the album, it's kind of lesser material, but in a live setting, it's more. Yeah, if that makes sense.
So what did you think? What did you make of this?
So I don't disagree with your assessment that it doesn't necessarily feel like an album, rather a collection of kind of I wouldn't go as far as singles. I just think
Not all of them, but
yeah, you know what I mean, the mix of the album, because you've brought in guests who have very unique styles.
yeah,
And rather than just, this is what I kind of love about this album, right? They brought Electric Callboy in and did like a Babymetal Electric Callboy song. Poppy came in and they did a Babymetal Poppy song. Rather than every other collaboration where you get the vocalist in from a band and they sing over your music and you're kind of like, sometimes that works. Sometimes I question why it's done that way. What they've done is they've essentially fused the sound of that band collectively into their music. And I find that really interesting. I actually think it works really well, especially when you get something like Sunset Kiss. When you hear Polyphia play alongside that music, some of the guitar work is just fucking mind-blowing, just like incredible, but it fits over their sound. It's like they've managed to co-opt that into specifically styling. Even when you think of like Tom Morello's presence on Metal isn't all over the track. It's really in a section, but where it's brought in, the band have acclimated to that sound, so it kind of fits. So it works. Now, I will put forward my case as to why I don't disagree with what you say, but I don't see it as a problem.
Right.
To me, the best Babymetal album is still their debut, right?
Yeah.
Fucking love their debut. Absolutely love it. I think it was the one that was least power metal. And then from that point, it became more power metal.
Yeah.
And I've got nothing against it, but it kind of felt like a lot of that kind of lightning in a bottle, nothing's off the table sort of thing became a little bit more structured and not unappetizing, but at the same time, just a little bit more of the formula. Like after that first album, there was a Babymetal formula, and every album kind of plays into that formula to various degrees. I will say, if you go back and listen to that first album, though, it's all over the shop. Like some tracks start with full-on EDM, with next to no metal in it. Other tracks have like bad hip-hop breakdowns, and it doesn't actually sound like a cohesive album. It sounds like a collection of singles. So actually, I think this is the one that's most in keeping with what my understanding of Babymetal actually is, which is, you know, this amalgamation of styles and sounds thrown together and fronted by these three, you've got to imagine, relatively small Japanese, now women, like fronting it, like with a very distinctive tone. So to me, that never was an issue as much, but I can get the criticism. Like calling it like an album is really feels like a greatest hits, if you know what I mean. Even though they're all new songs, this is kind of what greatest hits do. Like you listen to it, you're like, "This, I love this song, I love this song, I love this song," but they were never all on the same album. So I get that. I don't disagree with that at all. I think what they've managed to do here, another thing they've done, which I really love, is they really have kind of went out of their way to capture. They could have just picked their favourite Japanese artists to sing with them, or their favourite American artists now that are on the American record label, but they've managed to. Poppy's on the up at the moment. We can all agree with that, and she's collaborating. Poppy herself is collaborating with God knows how many different bands at the moment. She seems to be every fucking where. But I love what they do here. Electric Callboy are German, Slaughter to Prevail are Russian, Bloodywood are Indian. So you get like a really good mix of other nations, and that once you've seen kind of Babymetal live, they are very much about like the world. There's like, they look at metal all over the world, and this might be the kind of fucking Band-Aid feed the world version of that in a metal album. I kind of feel like they've really captured culture and sound on it, which is kind of amazing. Like Japanese metal has a very sometimes overbearing, distinct tone, and the fact that they've managed to co-opt a lot of that stuff in is really, really cool. I think you're right as well. They're not selfish with the collaboration either. Like you listen to the Electric Callboy song, I would say vocal duties are maybe 60% Electric Callboy, 40% Babymetal. If you listen to the Poppy track, I would say it's probably the same ratio. However, when you listen to song 3, I would say it's maybe 80% Babymetal, 20% Slaughter to Prevail. I think it's 50-50 on the Bloodywood track. Polyphia, there's obviously no vocals. Spirit Box, I would say it's probably about 50-50. And Tom Morello's presence is kind of dotted in the track, but not overbearing. So they're actually quite gracious in terms of how they do their collabs, and I think that's for the betterment and benefit of the songs. I quite like the production here. the reason I quite like, I don't love it, but I've never loved any Babymetal production. I think it's like you say, it's that if power metal had a filter, that's pretty much every Babymetal album. It's like, it's almost as if like fucking, like if Dragonforce invented a patch, that's pretty much what all their albums sound like. And that's kind of over here as well. What I loved about it though is the fact you could incorporate all those other bands, styles and sounds in here, and actually make them not sound like they've just been washed over with like a mediocre production. All that stuff stands out, especially when you get like the level of instrumentation that's on Metal or Song 3, where you're getting lots of percussive instruments. Totally worked for me. Sounded really cool. So the balance here.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of these tracks weren't recorded together in a studio. They were probably sent from different places.
I think so. It would have to be. So you might have. It'd be interesting to know a little bit more about that, because I like their Babymetal are rich, right? Let's not like if they're fucking huge and they're fucking rich, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if some of this was a case of we'll fly to Japan, or when you're touring Japan next, can you build in 1 or 2 dates in here to come in the studio? Wouldn't surprise me, but knowing how technology works now, it would also not surprise me if no one travelled fucking anywhere. But the fact it's mixed in the way it is, I think really, really works. I will say, I think that had they not put their own music on here and just had this as a six song collaboration release, I think I could see a lot more of the kinetic tissue overall in the concept, even though it's not a concept album. Whilst I love Algorithm and White Flame and even Kawaii, which I think is fun, even though it's them doing hip hop again, which is never a good thing. Whilst I like those tracks as they are, I think what is weird about them is their placement. So like the album opens with 4 collaborations, right? And then you get a track, and then it's 2 collaborations, then a track, then a collaboration, then a track, where it kind of feels like almost kind of feels like they were having so much fun writing the album that there were like maybe 6 songs and we're like, shit, we haven't actually written one of ours. And Algorithm and White Flame would happily sit amongst the back catalogue of their stuff. Like the chorus on White Flame is like so quintessentially full on Babymetal, it's unbelievable. But once again, I could see the argument for, let's just make this a Babymetal and Friends album, and I think that would totally fucking work. That sound like transfers really well into other bands, so not entirely sure about that. What I will say is, I think, and putting my objective, not I've seen them live, I think they're great. So much fun, and I'm not the gatekeeper of metal like everyone seems to think they are. I think there's certainly a place for Babymetal in the world, and I don't feel we should be like dictating what bands people should listen to unless those bands are Machine Head and get them. I will say this is my favourite Babymetal release since the first album.
Okay.
I think this is better than all the other ones have had 1 or 2 songs that I'm like, fucking great, but the rest of it relatively, it's background noise. I don't pay too much attention to it. I enjoy it, but I'm not like, this is fucking this is my favourite since the first album. I also think, like yourself, not to be pedantic, a concept album is still an album, right? It's all the same musicians that played on it, even if one of your singers weren't there. Still a Babymetal album. And I can't remember the press release saying that it wasn't a bit, not to be taken as part of the Babymetal canon. That wasn't released, so that's fine.
That's on their website, by the way.
I mean, I don't. As far as I'm concerned, I think, like, own it. And this is album number 5. But like, they went from relative obscurity and like viral clip, almost, they were around before TikTok, but viral clip moments and reaction videos to a band, 13, 14 years into their career now, and I can't stress this enough, fucking huge. Like, Babymetal play to massive crowds all over the world. And they win people over eventually. I don't think anyone. I would be surprised if anyone said Babymetal was their favourite band. But I would also be surprised if anyone said they didn't have fun listening to a Babymetal, like one of the songs from the back catalogue. There's one that'll connect with someone, regardless what your opinion on of music is. Might not be everything, but they have something for everyone, which is their strength and also at times their weakness. I really like this. I really like this. I'm also drinking, in honor of them, Strong 7 by Suntory. Grapefruit flavour.
Look at you.
You don't fuck with this stuff. This stuff fucks you, right?
Okay, final thing. Scores for Metal Fourth. This is where it gets tricky. I can't deny the tracks are catchy, most of them anyway. There's plenty of variety here. That there are some absolute bangers on this release, and it is fun. It's a fun release. It does not hang together as an album for me. It does sound like Babymetal are the guests on the album, most of the tracks, to be honest. So it's how to score that when the tracks, most of the tracks are decent, but it's not a great album. That is the tricky thing here.
Go with your heart, Dave.
I feel like 3 is too harsh. I'm going to go 3.5. I'm going to go 3.5. I was
higher than what I thought. I thought you were going to come right in the middle. I thought you were going to be like 2.5.
No, I was contemplating a 3, but I feel like the songs are good and they are really catchy. I can't take that away from them at all. And the production is better. Musically it's pretty good. Vocally they do a good job. It's just the whole kind of album thing doesn't really kind of fit together for me. But I'm going to on the quality of the tracks 3.5. What about yourself?
3.5.
Oh, what the fuck?
Babymetal don't have a 5-star album. I love Babymetal, but Babymetal do not have a 5-star album to me.
Right.
The best they have is that first album, which is a 4-star album to me. Right. So
interesting.
It sits comfortably underneath that
3.5.
That's why I was surprised you were like 3.5. I was like, that's where I'm coming in, and I think that's the right score. I think this is very much above the midway mark. It's not a perfect album.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever will release a perfect album just because of the nature of how they write songs collectively as a group and how they are, as a unit. And as gimmick's a strong word, but as that gimmick is probably the best word, as that gimmick kind of works together. But yeah, I will put it this way, there is 8 songs on this album that I would happily spin and not get tired of, right? And that's out of 10 songs, which is a thumping good ratio. But like you said, it really should be a Babymetal and Friends album instead of a Babymetal album.
Yeah.
And I'd throw the same accusations at death metal bands. I've got to be consistent where we've done reviews and I'm like that. There is 6 guest appearances on this, and I don't know why a death metal band needs 6 guests. 6 guests on an album feels like a lot, and at this 6 guests feels like a lot. So 3.5.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Babymetal Metal Fourth, which drops on August 8th on Capitol Records. Links to the band below, and I'll put one of the singles in there so you can check it out if you've not heard it already. Let us know what you think. Happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. What did you make of the new Babymetal album? That is the review. Thanks for checking out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.